Hello guys, and welcome back to a new Let's Play of Civilization Beyond Earth with the Rising Tide DLC. So what is Civilization Beyond Earth? It is a 4X strategy game. I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with Civilization. Civilization 5 is consistently one of the biggest selling games on Steam. I have played Civ 5 a lot. I've actually played this quite a bit as well. I'm still under 100 hours, but not by much. So I'm by no means a professional at this, but I think I'm pretty good, and I was hoping this Let's Play might be able to share some of that information and knowledge with you guys. So yeah, let's just dive straight into it. We're going to do single player. We're going to set up a game. The difficulty, we're going to do it on Apollo, which is the hardest difficulty. The flavor text says, impossibly hard. The AI player receives significant advantages to improve their play. They start with a lot of units, they start with a free colonist, they start with free technology, all that kind of stuff. But the game pace will be standard, the planet size will be standard. So our sponsor, which is essentially our civilization, we're going to go with one of the new sponsors from the Rising Tide DLC, the North Sea Alliance. And their flavor text is, aquatic cities have 50% more combat strength and cost 50% less to move. So aquatic cities inherently have less defensive or combat strength than land cities, but the North Sea Alliance kind of balances that out a bit. And they can also, aquatic cities can also move freely around coast at the beginning of the game, but later ocean, so they can move freely around the water areas of the map, which is, in my opinion, a great benefit. Now, I haven't actually played the North Sea Alliance through to a victory yet, so that's one of the big reasons that I'm choosing these guys, just to get a feel for the flavour of that sponsor. So yeah, North Sea Alliance it is. And next, so our colonists, this is inherent values present in each city. I'm going to choose engineer because I'm a bit of a productionist in this game. So the spacecraft, this is a kind of a universal bonus we'll get at the beginning of the game. I'm going to go for a continental surveyor, which is reveal coasts on the map. And for our cargo, we are going to choose laboratory, which is begin with the pioneering technology. This will allow us to begin very early to produce settlers or colonists, so we can found new cities on the map. So it'll be quite helpful. And for the planet type, we are going to pick this first planet type, which is a world with a few large landmasses separated by oceans and some smaller islands. But I do want to get one of the new terrain types present in Rising Tide, which is a fungal Terran world. So again, it's a world with a few large landmasses separated by oceans and some smaller islands. Now when I hit next, it's going to start the game, but through the magic of editing, I'm going to put in the opening cinematic for the Rising Tide DLC. So I will catch you guys on the other side.
We have debated the nature of the object since planetfall, but it wasn't until it began to slow and change course that we were certain it was a ship. A ship from Earth, launched long after we thought it was impossible. Its course clear and its arrival imminent. Celebrations swept the colony in anticipation of reunion with our brethren. All attempts to contact the vessel, however, were met with silence. They were either unable to respond or did not wish to. As we watched its approach, we prepared for any eventuality. Now, is over.
So guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that cutscene. I think it's pretty cool myself. So this is the initial start screen. This is where we choose our first city. And one of the big concerns for a young city or an early city is food accessibility. So this is fantastic. We have 2 food here. So I'm thinking here's a good spot. I want to land on the water, which obviously we are going to here, so I can move my city eventually. So yeah, let's just found our first city, the city of Deep Castle. Now before I get into the game itself, I'm just going to explain some of these UI elements. Up here is our research, current research. We've actually just finished pioneering, which is the choice we made in the pre-game. Up here we have our affinities with each of the 3 factions in the game. Harmony is like integration with nature, essentially. Purity is like, oh, we should have never left the Earth, humans are the best. Supremacy are kind of Skynet kind of people. They're very AI focused and very technology focused. Over here we have our diplomatic capital, which is a new currency in Rising Tide. I'll explain that as it comes about. It can be used essentially as a money resource or a diplomatic resource. Up here we have our strategic resources available to us. These are the 3 late game resources. So Xenomass is generally for harmony, Floatstone is generally for purity, and Phoraxide is generally for supremacy. Over here we have our cultures, which will allow us to choose certain traits. We'll actually get into that very soon because we will have our first choice to make in that branch shortly. Health is essentially like happiness, energy is your money, and science is your science per turn, which obviously contributes to your research. So we've only 1 unit at the moment, this explorer here. The explorers can set down expedition modules to excavate certain sites, and there's none in immediate access to our city, so we won't worry about that just yet. So the first choice we gotta make is choose production in Deep Castle. And straight away I'm going to go for an old earth relic, which will allow us to begin building up our culture and our diplomatic capital, giving us an additional 2 per turn. And choose our research. So early on I'm going to go for engineering, which reveals titanium on the map. So my plan in this playthrough is to develop cities with very good production rates and be quite aggressive. I want to control the ocean area that we are in, so I want to start churning out military, but titanium is a great resource for production, so that's the first thing we're going to research. I'm going to exit out of here, and our explorer needs orders. So let's have a quick look at the map. We seem to be in somewhat of a water alleyway between these 2 rather large islands. It does seem quite good at the beginning. I want to focus on harmony in this playthrough, so I'm looking for some Xenomass, which we have down here. And a rune is also perfect. That seems like a great first place to send our explorer, so we'll begin moving down there. As at the start of any civilization game, there will be a lot of relatively quiet turns at the beginning as you get a feel for the map and you've only a small number of units. So we continue on to our next turn. And again. This is a fantastic area for our first city because if you see these tiles here are actually coast, which we can move our city onto already. Here we have ocean, which is deeper. We can't quite move there yet, but we will be able to do quite shortly. But this is fantastic. We can move our city along these tiles if we so please. This is an alien unit, an alien hydrocoral. It's a melee unit, essentially like a weed. I'm not going to mess with the aliens too much in the early game. I don't need that aggro with the AI on Impossible. I probably have enough issues to deal with. And next turn again, our old earth relic should be finished in Deep Castle soon. So we got our first quest, found an outpost. So yeah, we can absolutely do that. So let's move our fellow down here. This is an alien nest, which is kind of bad news. I'm not going to mess with that just yet. Try and move around it. Deep Castle is finished the old earth relic, so we are going to work on a colonist. And next turn. We'll be getting our first cultural virtue very shortly. I should really explain that aquatic cities, typical land cities, they expand our borders through culture, like the border grows as you have more culture in the city. But this does not work with aquatic cities. You have to physically move the city. But instead, you get twice as much culture from the city towards virtues, which is actually pretty fantastic. So our explorer needs orders. We'll try and sneak down to... I really don't feel like messing with this because of the alien nest here. Like, I could sit on this and do an expedition with my explorer, but I think it might be a bit risky with my one unit that I have at the moment. So instead we'll move over to this Propagenitor rune over here. And next turn, I'm going to have a sip of my tea. That's good. So we get to choose our first virtue from the culture system. So in the beginning, I'm going to focus on industry. And as we get a few cities and I'm feeling a bit more aggressive, I'm going to move that focus over to might, which is the military virtue line. And we also have prosperity and knowledge. Very late game, I'll probably do some in knowledge, but like I said, for the beginning, we're going to do industry. So yes, our first industry virtue will provide plus 10% production towards building. So that's a pretty good start. And next turn. So we are near the south of the map, which is always nice, I think. As like with these two water canals, or with this one large water canal, it should be pretty defensible if we get some cities up at the north and south, and then we have a good base of operations to work from. I am hoping we get an alien or a AI sponsor land near to us, because I do plan on killing an AI quite early in the game if possible. So anyway, we'll begin to excavate this site with our explorer. So there will be extremely little going on for a couple of turns. So we get to develop a new virtue, and I'm going to go for a +5 energy in the capital, and that'll do. And next turn, Deep Castle. That's quite a cool name. I know some of the other names are Irish. I'm actually Irish, so hopefully I won't butcher them, but the rest are like Norwegian and Finnish, I think, as well. There's certainly some old Gaelic Scottish in there as well, so this should be interesting. So we have a quest decision, so I'm not going to read this. If you do want to read this, do feel free to pause the video and give it a look. But we want to play as Harmony in this game, so we're going to continue to Harmony. So for this quest, we need to build one patrol boat unit in Deep Castle, which is actually not a bad idea, I don't think. Anyway, because I wouldn't mind. Patrol boats are very fast in the water, so they will be quite good, I think. I did want to move this fellow to the south, but there is an alien sea dragon right there, and I don't really want to lose our colonists that we just spent so long building. So I think, like, down here is ideally where I would like to build this city. So I think I'm actually going to skip the colonist turn for now. Choose production in Deep Castle. We're going to work on a patrol boat to get that quest finished. I'm going to skip the turn. So our explorer finished the expedition, and we got some advanced research on nanotechnology completed. And we also got an artifact. Artifacts are quite cool. I'm not going to get into them just yet because we haven't got enough to really do anything too groundbreaking with them, but they are a great resource to have so early in the game. I'm just going to move the explorer over and grab this resource pad before moving back to Deep Castle to resupply it. Hopefully this alien dragon moves off. He seems to be, which is fantastic. And we'll move our colonists down the coast. We're going to move down to here, I think. Yeah, it's quite good at the beginning. Some production, some culture, xenomass for the late game. This 7 xenomasses within range as well. And our patrol boat will be done in 2 turns, which is fantastic. So we got the research, or the resource pad. We got 23 culture from it, which is great. We received an artifact, and we also got a quest, which is find 2 resource pads. So that should be doable for sure. And we get to choose another virtue. This time I'm going to go for a +1 energy from every basic resource to get our money ticking up so we can just buy some units early on. So we still haven't pumped into the AI. Here's our first AI, just landed to the northeast of Deep Castle, which is fine. We're moving to the southeast at the moment, so they shouldn't bump into us too often. Move our explorer back up and move our colonists down towards this spot down here. And next turn. Our patrol boat should be done, so we'll finish our quest. So we have to build a dome improvement. That doesn't happen for quite a while. It's a bit of a late game tile improvement. So we will get back to that, but not for quite a while. We get to choose production in Deep Castle. I think I might actually churn out another colonist nice and early. And with our patrol boat we are going to begin exploring the local area. So perfect, we have a resource pod to the north of our patrol boat. So yes, so far so good. It's a nice start actually. I really like this the layout of the map. We have an AI just landed over here, and I think they could be our first meal when we get our military up and going. So we'll move our colonist tentatively over here, and we'll move our patrol boat up to catch this resource pad. We got another artifact and 50 energy. This one is the speech compressor computer, some flavor text there if anyone would like to read it. And we'll keep moving our patrol boat up to the north. And next turn. Colonists will be finished in Deep Castle in 7 turns. We've spotted a resource pod to the near our explorer. So I'm going to found the city here, our second city. So we received a second patrol boat for finishing the quest to found a city. Our second city is Aylmuir, which is an Irish name. I think it actually should be Muir El. So that's okay though. I won't hold it against them. And we'll move this second patrol boat over to see who this AI is over here to our west. And we'll continue with our first patrol boat up to the north. Oh, fantastic, found 2 resource pads. So we'll next turn. There's a lot of aliens on that land. I was going to dip up and get that resource pod, which I still might actually. Another AI landing. So we'll grab this resource pod with our patrol boat. We got 8 research, finished engineering, received 30 science for finishing the quest. And we have researched, yes, engineering, and that reveals titanium on the map, which is fantastic. So our next research, we're going to go for chemistry, because I am going to build an awful lot of submarines in this playthrough. Submarines are awesome, they're invisible, they have a ranged attack. Their only inherent weakness is their move speed. But if you play as Harmony, you can, later on in the Harmony progression, you can make them monsters. You get a lot of additional movement, and it kind of balances them out in terms of their weakness, so that is really fantastic. Our patrol boat needs orders, so we'll keep exploring around here. Some titanium here on the map, and I think that could be a great spot for our next city up here. So we got some xenomass, got some feraxite. Xenomass is the big one I'm looking for. I think in the very, very late game, I'll also splash into Supremacy to get some hybrid units. Hybrid units are a new addition in the Rising Tide DLC. So traditionally it's only you spec up one affinity, and you get like specific units and stuff, but with Rising Tide you can kind of splash into a few and get very powerful units in the late game. But anyway, it's still the very early game, so we're not going to worry too much about that just yet. Some xenomass down here to the south. These tiles of ice are completely useless, so as tempting as that is, and titanium too, as tempting as that is, these are essentially dead tiles, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. And we didn't move our explorer up, but sure, no worries, we'll get it later. AI taking a while to process. I'm going to have a sip of my tea. That is good tea. So as I said, I'm an Irishman, but I live in Seattle in America. I'm married to an American woman, so I really do enjoy America. I do miss some small things from back home, such as a good cup of tea, but you can't have it all, I guess. So just moving our patrol boats around just to continue to get a feel for the map. Player 3 every time is taking their time. Our second patrol boat, we can continue moving to the north. Found a resource pad, which is great. Got 40 energy, not too shabby. Let's have a little look around the map, see if there's any nice places for a third city, or a fourth city I should even say. Doesn't seem nothing to jumps out at me straight away. Another resource pad, which is fantastic. Another 23 science, which makes a big difference in the early game. Now, if you actually move your military units into the fog of war to what you don't really know what the space is, but if there is an enemy there, it will auto attack them, which is absolutely not something that I want. I'm just going to turn off these resource icons for a moment so we can see exactly where the dig sites are. There is none within real range, this one for sure. But I think instead we might move over here to these colony landers and stuff. See if we can get some cool stuff from those guys. And next turn. 2 more turns until our colonist is finished, and we will begin to move that to the north. So ideally I want to get like 4, maybe even 5 starting cities up, sort out some of the health issues that we're going to have, and then begin to expand a little more. But we'll give it time to see how the gameplay emerges, the emergent gameplay aspect, because you never know what could happen. Another resource pad, fantastic, we're getting a lot of these guys. And we get another artifact and 23 research. Impossible drive, looks pretty cool. So we get to develop a virtue. For this virtue we are going to go for standardized architecture, which allows for 25% production increase towards buildings which have already been built in the capital, so it'll be handy when we are expanding. So we nearly have the first tier bonus in the industry virtues, which is plus 10% energy in each city, and with 2 more virtues in the first tier line, we will get choose 1 free virtue, so that's fantastic. For our next 2 virtues we're going to go for adaptive tactics and military industrial complex. Ultimately I want to move down to this one here quite early, which is plus 20% affinity earned from researching technologies, which is allows us to level up our affinities 20% faster, so it's quite helpful. So we discovered a research pad, not much else going on. Our colonist should be finished on the next turn, which is fantastic. We'll begin to move it up here towards this lucrative area. Wow, that it really is a very good area. Another resource pad, which is fantastic so early in the game. Another 23 research. We just fell off. So, another resource pad. And we get a solar collector. Solar collector is a satellite unit. Sorry, I'm just going to move our colonist up to this area right here. So solar collector is an orbital unit. There's quite a few orbital units that come into play in the mid and late game. This solar collector just provides +1 energy or +1 money on each tile around the city. So we're going to launch it up over Deep Castle, and our energy goes from +8 to +13, which is fantastic. You can choose production in Deep Castle. Exit the orbital layer screen. Choose production in Deep Castle, if it'll let me do it. And next we are going to build a clinic, because with the rapid expansion quickly we're going to run into health issues, so clinic it is. And actually guys, with that I'm going to leave episode 1 here. Thank you for joining me, of course, but if you do have any feedback, any thoughts, any comments, any questions, anything at all, do leave it down in the comment section and I will absolutely get an answer to you. And thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time.